Hey everyone! In this episode, I'm going to use Claude Code to create something called a critic versus defender skill. And what this skill is for making better plans. So plans are very important. The more time you spend on plans and planning, the better your AI code will end up being. Your AI session will be marvelous. So the better the plan, the more you can do to make those plans awesome, worth the effort. And this is one thing that I have put into my workflow that is different than the normal planning workflow that Claude usually gives you to make something better. For me, it always works. Find something cool and new that Claude missed on the original planning. So stick around to see how we do that, how we do the skill. And also, let's see it and work with a demo at the very end. So stick around to the end to see how it works and how the actual workflow happens. And if you haven't already, go down into the description and get yourself a top 5 test automation best practices. It is 5 practices that I've discovered over my last 25 years of software test engineering. So just kind of condensed into some bite-sized nuggets that you can put into play at your job today. So down in the description and click to get your free copy. So as I mentioned in the intro, the more you invest in planning, the better your chat session, your program, your code, all that, the better it's going to come out. It's going to have a better quality to it. I've heard other engineers that are way cooler and better than me doing the same thing. They invest a lot of their energy into planning up front. In fact, they'll make sure they have the best tools available and will pay for more tokens for planning, because the more you invest in planning, it actually uses less tokens overall, because you put so much into the planning up into the front that it's actually easy for it to code. It's making less mistakes, and it's not going back trying to correct itself. It's not having you pull out your hair trying to get it to do the right thing. Instead, trying to get it to do the right thing before it even starts coding. And here's what I believe. I'm not a data scientist. I don't know how all these neural networks work. But what I believe is, if there's any ambiguity, any places where you haven't spelled out what the AI should be doing, that's an area where the AI has to make a guess. And AIs don't stop to ask you every time this happens. Instead, they just guess. And we sometimes call those guesses hallucinations, because it'll guess wrong sometimes. It'll go off down its own tangent. And when it guesses wrong at this one part, all the subsequent decisions are also based on that wrong assumption. So you get a cascading effect, which totally screws up your app. And then, yeah, that's when you get those weird outcomes, things that are completely wrong and wild, or hallucinations. So you don't want that. And that's why I made this critic versus defender skill. And in the next section, I'll type this skill out. You won't believe how simple this skill is, but how awesome the plans come out after. And again, a quick reminder, jump down there into the description. There's a link to get the top 5 test automation best practices. Free ebook. Grab it. Thank you. So here's the meat and potatoes. So here is the prompt that I use after laying a plan. So let's just write this prompt out. I'm not going to execute it right now. That'll come later in this video. But here is the basic prompt. Create 2 subagents, a critic and a defender. The critic tries to find flaws in the plan, places that are unclear in the plan, and areas that need more information. The defender addresses the issues the critic finds and tries to argue if they are necessary or not for the plan. The two subagents argue until they reach consensus. Important part, argue until they reach consensus. They keep going back and forth, arguing with each other. And here is another thing. If they can't find consensus, you want to be the person to say what the answer is. So if there's something that these two agents are arguing with, you want to be the tiebreaker. So if they can't reach consensus, stop and ask the user to be the tiebreaker. And then finally, I just put at the very end that the outcome of this is a stronger, clearer plan. That's it. This is the prompt I put in, and I do this after the planning section of everything I do. I always start off my chats with a plan. I put it into plan mode. Here I'm on the here I'm using the command line, but I think if you just do Shift Tab, it goes through all these different modes right here. So I just put plan mode on. You could also do /plan and it puts it into plan mode, but make sure you're in plan mode when you run this. But anyway, I get this into plan mode, then I do my original plan, and then this. Yeah, so in this next section, so here is the skill. It's very easy to turn this into a skill. So the next section, I'll just show you how to turn this into a skill real quick, and then we'll start walking more into the workflow behind this. And then finally, the actual full demo that will clearly show how I'm using this. So here's the next section, creating a skill. And if you haven't created a skill before, it's very simple. Most of these come with something called a skill creator. So you can invoke that skill creator directly like this. But usually what I do is just tell Claude, hey, create a skill for this. That's usually what I do. Whenever there's something I type in and I want it to execute, but I also want it to be a skill, sometimes I'll just say, hey, create a skill for this and then execute. But yeah, all you have to do is at the very end or before this, just say, create a skill for this, and it'll do it. That easy. And once it's a skill, I would call it critic versus defender. Name it whatever you want. Angel versus devil, stress the plan, whatever you want to call it. But I call it critic versus defender. And that way I can just go /critic versus defender. And that's it. You create the skill. I'm not going to execute this now. I already have it as a skill. But usually when you create the skill, Claude Code will go and add a lot more detail for this and make it more resilient for being able to argue with your planning more. But it's so cool when this actually works. I can't wait to show this for you. So I want to show you the workflow real quick. And then after that, we're going to do the demo. So what is the workflow? Well, before I told you, get into plan mode first. You see here, I say I use Shift Tab to get into plan mode. You see right here, it says plan mode on. The other way to get into plan mode is just go plan like that. And now you're in plan mode. You want to be in plan mode because you don't want it to execute anything yet. So very important. So you're in plan mode. The next thing you want to do is create an initial plan. You don't do the critic versus defender yet at all. First, you create your plan for wherever it is. So we'll show you this in the next step. But yeah, you create your plan for whatever you're trying to develop. You're making a whole website, you're planning a feature, you're trying to write tests, whatever it is you're going in to do at the beginning of your chat. I always start a plan to put it in planning mode and think about what I'm going to do. So you do the plan and you say, cool, you do the plan. What's going to happen? Claude is going to run through, do the plan, and then it's going to stop at the very end and say, hey, do you want to implement this plan? At that point, I always hit escape and get out of it. I do not let it implement the plan. I do not say, yes, implement the plan. I hit escape. I cancel out of it. I dismiss. Whatever you need to do to get out of that implementation mode, because you want one extra step. And that extra step is the critic versus defender. So right here, right after that initial plan mode, you do /critic versus defender, hit enter, watch the magic. You'll actually see it arguing back and forth with each other. It's really fun. And then you'll see it always seems to find some issues every single time. Then after it does that, it comes out with a better plan, and then Claude or Codex or whatever you're using comes out and says, hey, it's done now. And then I'm saying, cool, implement the plan. Every now and then it needs that tiebreaker that we discussed, and it will stop and ask me more questions. And that's a good thing. When it's asking you questions because it doesn't know what's going on, that was probably a big area that's going to cause a lot of confusion when it actually goes to implement the plan. So it's wonderful that it found spots that it needs to ask you questions. So that's it. That's the basic workflow. Let's jump into it and let me show you the workflow real quick. We're going to do a quick little demo. We'll see how far we get into it. I'm just going to do the planning part, not the implementing part. Let's go. All right, so here I am. Got plan mode on. I'm going to make a horror movie database website. So cool. Let's make a horror movie database website. People can log in and search movies and save them to their profile. They can also add new movies to the database. That's going to keep it that simple. It's a very lightweight plan, but I think it's enough for a basic website. There's no design or anything else into this, but it's a plan. Let's do it. Let's see what happens. When I hit enter now and you're in plan mode, Claude's going to go and do its thing, think things through, and come up with its initial plan. Let's see what happens. All right, cool. The plan is asking me some initial questions. Always good. Next.js, Postgres, Drizzle. Sure. Actually, I'm going to go for something simpler. SQLite. Why not? It's just a local app. Just to keep things a little bit lighter. No, you know what? No. Probably get more questions from the Postgres. 421. Next.js, Postgres, and Drizzle. Sure. Boink. Email password auth. Cool. Seed from TMDB API. Okay, whatever that is. Sure. I guess there's some movie database. Sure. I'm just going to go through these. It's not really, I've never noticed this checklist before. That's cool. Poster image, sure. Subgenre, sure. User ratings, sure. Whoops. Oh, crap. I accidentally went back. Yes. Yes. And submit. Submit answers. Cool. And we're still in the initial planning mode. So those questions were just from Claude on the initial plan phase. Okay, here is the part where I told you you do not want to hit yes. So right here, it's say, hey, Claude has written out the plan. It's ready to execute. Don't hit yes. No, I don't know what this ultra plan thing is. I tried it once and it was really weird. I just hit escape at this point. Then you can see the original plan up here. And all I do at this point, critic versus defender. So I run this critic versus defender skill. And what it's going to do is going to create two subagents. If you're not familiar with what subagents are, so the two subagents are just two little worker bees that are just running out and doing stuff for you. And this one, I have them actually working back and forth and arguing with each other and then the main agent then is kind of like coordinating those. And then when it's done, it all comes back together and boom. Leveraging subagents just helps things move faster when you can have parallel things happening at once to complete a task. And this is a great use of that. We need two things arguing with each other. You can see right here, they did a round one and it got some ideas on several blocking issues. And it's going to go through another round to see on any other contested points. So it found issues by being critical, and the defender and the critic agreed on several blocking issues. That alone right there is why I'm doing this. It's just so cool that it just jumps in and finds, it just pokes holes in that plan. And because I don't know, when I first started, I thought Claude Code was doing all those things for me in that planning session and making a really good solid plan. But no, there's extra steps you can go there to even make that plan better. And this is just one technique. There are other techniques as well. I don't really know what those techniques are. But I'm learning them. This is just one I made up that I think is good. Oh, okay. So now the defender is like, oh, all the things the critic found, I agree with. They're doing it all. So it's updating the plan now. But let's scroll up here and see what the results of that. Here we are. Here's the results. The critic versus defender summary. So no tiebreakers I need to do. Empirical probes needed? What is this? Weird. I don't know what that means, but cool. But here's what they found. Auth.js. Oh, so authentication stuff. That's important. So race conditions. Huh. Rate limiting. Poster URL. I don't even know what some of these are. So it found some issues. Putting them into place. I don't know what half these things are. And, I don't know. But it found issues. Putting these into place, it seems to be something good. So let's see what happens. That's really, at this point, I just let the plan go. We can see what's going to happen, but that's not even the important part. The important part is this critic versus defender skill. But I'm going to let this run anyway, see if we get anything useful out of it. So at this point, I do just click yes, clear content, clear context, bypass permissions. That's what I run. And it did it. Let's check out this website. I'm kind of cutting off a lot of stuff. It was actually launching Playwright MCP and testing everything out. And I was kind of gobsmacked because I didn't even ask it to do it. Let's see what happens. Well, that looks pretty darn good so far, except for these empty things. I think I did see a warning that it didn't retrieve all of this stuff, but considering I did fuck all except like plug in like 3 sentences, I think this website is amazing. Got this, you can have sign in and sign up. I don't know, a@b.com, password is password, sign in. Oh, all right. So you actually have to sign up. So cool. It's got the auth path all figured out. All these horror movies. I'm not going to run through everything here. I am just kind of amazed it did all this cool stuff. Even gives tags right here to things that didn't even body horror. The Thing. Is Alien really body horror? I guess shit pops out of the body. So yeah, body horror. But I am 100% impressed with this. It does what I asked. Honestly, a fair thing would have been to create one version of this without that critic versus defender and another one with, and then compare the two, but whatever. I was pretty amazed at the site. I actually saw the Playwright stuff go through, sign in, create a new account, tag things, submit a new movie, all that good stuff. So it was showing it all working. And that's it. I've been using this every day at work and at home, using this critic versus defender plan. It's so simple to just put into play with your stuff, but the results are always good. It always finds faults and things and figures out a new path, and it makes the plans so much better each time. So anything that can make the plan better is worth investing into. So I hope this critic versus defender skill is something that you use. I will copy paste the critic versus defender skill directly into the description as well. So you yourself can go and just copy paste that into your prompt if you want, or create your own flavor. I'd love to hear if y'all are going to do this. Let me know in the comments. Have you already done something different that's even better? Definitely tell me what's going on in the comments. Yeah, what do you feel about this? Do you feel it's necessary, unnecessary? What? I'd love to hear from you. Or tell me how. I actually like to hear how you haven't done extra planning and how things went horribly wrong. Anyway, drop me a line in the comments. I love chatting with you. And if you haven't already, go find in the description. It's the top 5 test automation best practices. It's a free guide. Go grab it. It's easy to read, and you can put what you read in there into play at your job today if you're a test engineer watching this. All right. Thank you so much. Yeah, this next video coming up right here. Yeah, if you pair what I did in this video with this, I know I'm going to put the open spec video. So yeah, if you combine this stuff with the open spec workflow I describe in this next video, oh, mwah, chef's kiss. Anyway, happy testing everyone. Take care. Bye.